There are really only three big reasons why people don't buy things. Most of the decisions we make in our life are made by this little bitty brain about the size of a walnut at the base of the skull called the reptilian brain. That brain hasn't evolved very much. Because of that, as people tap that brain, these stories that you tell, these signals that you send out, trigger brain chemicals. Their offers having this incredible success.
I'm literally fact checking you as we go. So far, so good.
So if you don't address those things to overcome them in your offers, this prefrontal cortex brain is just going to say no. Formulaic copy, it works better than non-formulaic copy. But with these tools, you go out and slay any ordinary copywriter. So there are four chemicals that are primarily manipulatable. This is the stuff that's the difference between a multi-$1,000 offer and a multi-million-dollar offer. Hi, I'm Perry Belcher. This is the Trainwreck Show. Here with myself, Perry. I'm the guy that is the unstoppable force of growth in your business, along with Emma Rainville, the Wizard of Ops, the immovable stone in your shoe, in my case. But we're here today to bring you another episode of the Trainwreck Show. How you doing, girl?
I'm doing great.
You were doing good up until about a minute ago, right?
Oh, every time I'm in the room.
She got her Cruella de Vil shoes on today. She looks like she's going to kick a dog any minute now.
Nope, just you.
Just me. Okay, perfect. So what's going on today? What are we doing and what have you been doing?
Sure. If I could remember, I believe we're going to be doing a 2-part episode on Primal offers.
And nailed it with such confidence and enthusiasm.
Perry, you know you are such a piece of shit. Did you wear your Depends, Pawpaw?
I got them. Yeah, I got them on right now.
Perfect. So while Perry's filling the room up with shit, literally, we're going to be talking about Primal offers today. Yeah. We're going to be walking through, and it's actually a lot of content, and it's not the easiest to get through, but it's probably the biggest bang for your buck that we can give you on a podcast ever. So we're splitting that into 2 episodes, part 1 and part 2.
Cool. You can tell me where to split. So basically, this came up about a year ago. I started working because my offers, to be honest with you, I've written a lot of offers in the market. I created the 21-step sales letter formula that was really popular for a long time. I did the FIBS formula for copywriting. It was really popular for a long time. Those both still work really quite well. But when you get into like hyper competitive markets, you have to have another competitive edge. It's not quite the same. You can't just go out there and mix it up with everybody else. When you're writing against the best copywriters in the world, you have to have an edge. And there's a guy named Aldo Albuquerque that I started studying and really became a big fan of his. I'm a big fan of John Benson's, who's a good friend of mine. A lot of copywriters out there that I just love that have done, Chris Haddad, have done amazing stuff at getting to the little reptilian brain back in the back of your head that makes all the decisions, really. We think that we logic so well as humans that all of our decisions are made in this prefrontal cortex and then we're the superior being and all that. The truth is, most of the decisions we make in our life are made by the third brain. It's this little bitty brain about the size of a walnut at the base of the skull called the reptilian brain. That brain hasn't evolved very much from caveman days or primitive days. And because of that, we're seeing more and more and more as people tap that brain, their offers having this incredible success that other offers don't have. Because you're talking to the part of the brain that you can't talk to it directly. You know, let me talk about that for a minute. It's brain chemistry real quick. You got this little brain back here that wants to sleep, eat, and reproduce. That's all it wants. It wants to stay alive and procreate the species. That's its job. It wants to eat and screw. That's basically it. And also known as every man you've ever met in your life.
Also known as every female you've ever met in your life.
So, yeah, but they want to eat your food and theirs.
Right.
That's the hard part, or at least the ones I've known have. So, you know, you get when you start tapping into that little brain back there, everything goes crazy because it shortcuts. You know, and we've talked a lot on this podcast about Donald Trump's presidency, and it really, he talks so much to this little reptilian brain back here because the reptilian brain,
the mechanics behind the marketing is what we talk about.
It wants what it wants, right? Who gets the what human gets the most of what they want?
The loudest.
A baby.
The baby?
The baby gets the most of what they want. They don't ask for it. They demand it. They demand it, and they scream and yell and make your life a pure freaking hell until you give them whatever
Maybe
it is
that's
that
how
they
it
want.
worked in your house.
They just locked you in a closet. I'm sure. That's what's wrong with you. Now I know what it is. You were tied up outside with the dog.
Huh?
I get it. Yeah, I was probably locked in a closet. Got freak out about closed spaces.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that my parents probably locked me in and put me in a drawer or locked me in a closet. I think my big brother did it.
A closet makes sense.
I think so, because I freak
Maybe
out.
someday it'll come out.
I freak out. So, but when you get, I'm going to talk a lot about brain chemistry. So there's two big things that happen in the brain when you make somebody an offer. You're appealing to one of three brains, either this brain back here that wants everything. Mm-hmm. It's unbridled. It wants everything. It's the reason when people have, a lot of times when people have brain injuries, you hear about people have brain injuries that just masturbate all day long, or they eat until they get really big and fat, or they all kinds of things, because they don't have any boundaries. They lose all their boundaries. Like when Emma got dropped on her head as a child, she lost a lot of her boundaries in what's a social norm when speaking to somebody.
You know I got thrown out of a fucking second floor window when I was 2 months old, right?
I didn't until just now.
Yeah, you're a fucking idiot. You're an asshole. I've definitely told you that story, too. If you weren't so fucking full of yourself, maybe you would have been listening.
You got thrown out of a 2-story window when you were a baby?
That's how I got adopted.
That explains a lot. So that's part one of selling to the brain. Which brain are you selling to? If you're selling this brain back here, you can have a lot better chance of getting to it. I would say sorry, but Emma would never apologize for anything, no matter what she did. So I'm not going to give her a sorry, because that would be a sign of weakness.
Just keep
that would
going.
be a sign of weakness in her space.
Just go ahead. Just keep on going. But now I'm going to be in his head this entire podcast.
Yeah, right.
He's going to be completely fucked.
So there's a second brain in here which takes up most of the space in your brain, and that's the mammalian brain. So that brain we share that with mammals, right? So it stores memories. It stores behavior. And then in the front of your brain, you have something called the prefrontal cortex. Us and apes are pretty much the only animals that have that. And
I'm literally fact checking you as we go.
yeah.
Yeah. So far, so good.
So far, so good. Well, I make some shit up, so just don't say anything when I make something up. Okay, so here's the way those brains work roughly. So if the best way to explain it is there are three animals, like there's a snake, a dog, and a human. And there's food out in front of the human or the snake or the dog. They're hungry. Their life depends on eating. They're out in the middle of the desert. But there's a giant lion, let's say, on the other side, something way bigger than us, that wants the same food, right? Well, the snake likely, other than the primitive forces born into the snake, it has no memory. Snakes don't have a memory. So they only have a reptile brain, a reptilian brain. So if it saw food and it only wants to survive and reproduce, it would go for the food. The lion may pick up the snake, bite its head off, and move on, right? But the snake's not going to back down. It's going to charge forward, right? It'll attack something bigger than it. That's the reason we're scared of snakes, because they're stupid. Snakes will bite you. They'll bite somebody way bigger than them, but they've been given powers of poisons and stuff in some cases that make their defenses stronger by nature. But they don't have any ability to remember what happens if they encounter a bigger obstacle, right? So the mammal, on the other hand, is born with certain inherent fears. Like we have a fear of fire. We have a fear of, some animals have a fear of other animals that are kind of cooked in over generations, that your brain's born with a little bit of that genetic in it. But really, you know, you always hear you touch the hot stove one time, you don't touch it again. Well, that's the mammalian brain will store that. So if you had to think about it like a computer, this mammalian brain's your processor. This reptilian brain's your processor. The mammalian brain is your hard drive, right? And then this frontal brain, this prefrontal brain is like a RAM memory almost, right? So this mammalian brain is going to store that memory. It's going to know not to touch the hot stove again. It's going to know not to do things. It's going to know not to date the crazy girl for the 17th time. It's going to know not to go out with a bum.
And yet you continue to date the crazy girl.
It's to not go out with the 14th bum musician, because she's never going to give you a place to live, you know.
And yet I still hate the bums.
Right out of prison. And, you know, it's going to remember those things, but it also has a cooked in thing called a fight or flight principle. So it's already cooked into your brain when you're born, fight or flight is. So fight or flight is going to basically say three things. This is pretty crude. If it's smaller than you, eat it. If it's bigger than you, run from it. If it's the same size as you and it looks like you, fuck it. You're going to try to it's the reason your dog tries to hump the pillows in your house. No shit. It's really true. So that's the mammalian brain. It's that crude and simple, right? But over time, as we build memories and we educate that brain, it'll store those memories, but it still doesn't know how to sort them. So for the human, we have this thing called a prefrontal cortex. And its entire job is to say one word: no. It keeps us out of trouble. And it keeps us out of success too. So its job...
I was going to ask you what's wrong with yours, just as you said it keeps us out of success.
It keeps us out of success.
Because you get in a lot of trouble, but you've had a lot of success.
Well, you're going to find out that that's true with everybody.
All of them, yeah.
Everybody that's really successful gets in a lot of trouble. Anybody that's a home run hitter strikes out more than anybody else. That's just the nature of the game. You accept more risk. When you accept more risk, you get more reward or catastrophic failure. One of the two.
And if you catastrophically fail enough, you'll eventually win. Most of the time.
Sometimes, or no, that's not. I don't think that's true. You'll tuck tail and never get back. Well, I think
that's that's what I'm saying. If you continue to catastrophically fail,
if you get back on the horse,
if you pick yourself up and you fail again, and you pick yourself up and you fail again, it isn't a matter of if; it's a matter of when, and if you can outlast.
Yeah.
That's all it is. It's a law of average game.
Beth Dutton from Yellowstone, also known as Emma Rainville, had a line in this show. She's telling this kid.
Such a piece of shit.
She says there's only 4 ways that you can really be successful. And it was really a great speech. She's in a car with this kid who's kind of a rapscallion kid. And now he's been adopted by this multimillionaire rich family. And she says, kid, there's only 4 ways you're going to make it. You want to get rich and powerful. Number 1, you can steal it. And frankly, you ain't smart enough to steal anything that's worth anything. 2, you can inherit it. And ain't nobody you know got a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out of. And 3, you can work real hard and you can try a lot of things and you can take a lot of risk and you're going to fail. And then you're going to get back up and you're going to work real hard and take a lot of risk and try again, and you're going to fail. And eventually the time between gets longer and longer and longer until eventually you succeed.
What's the 4th one?
That's what the kid asked. He said, I thought you said there was a 4th one. She said, well, you could learn to suck a dick till you lost your car keys in it, but that's probably not what's going to get you there, kid. So there are 4 ways, right? It's stated by the way, just a little side note. I watched an episode the other day. The 4 richest women in the world got it via divorce. The 4 richest women in the world. Melinda Gates. No, Oprah's not even in that.
Not even
strata.
in the category. Okay.
Melinda
Gates. I believe she's the richest woman in
Melinda Gates.
the U.S.
Oh, no.
No? Okay.
No. Well, Bezos' old lady got like $42 billion. It was insane.
She had to fuck a guy in a garage, though. So
whatever.
But go ahead. But Melinda.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's Melinda Gates, Bezos. I forget her name. The one that was married to the prince in Saudi is now worth a bajillion billions. All of it's kind of sort of true. I hate to say it, but it kind of sort of true. But there's plenty of wealthy, self-made women in America now, and women are clearly smarter than men.
You're trying to back out of what you just the hole that you realize you dug. So
no, women are smarter than men. It's just too bad that we own everything. So she walked in. See, I set a trap. She walked right in. She walked, all right.
You want to take 2023 against 2023 tax returns? No. We could definitely do that.
We can do that. Okay. So anywho, where were we?
I think you were walking right off the cliff.
Yeah, I've totally lost my train of thought. Oh, so you're speaking to one of those 3 brains. So this brain up here says no to everything. So how do you turn the no off to get people to do whatever the hell it is they want to do? You do it by a temporary suspension of belief. We talked about it on a previous episode. You do it with drugs, alcohol, repetition, or stories. Those are kind of the only ways to do it. We go to the movies, right? We watch movies to turn our brains off. That's why we do it. We go into fantasy. We read romance novels. Women read romance novels. Men watch porn. Same, right? To get our minds off reality of who we have to sleep with, right? I'm just joking. Just kidding, honey. That's what we do. We do it because it's a temporary suspension of belief. It lets us get out of these biases. So you have all these biases in your brain. Your buyer has all these biases that this won't work, that won't work, and all those things. And we're going to talk about why that is in a couple of minutes. But you have to turn those off if you're ever going to get them to take the action that you want them to make. And you do that by story, copy, repetition, all the things we're going to talk about here in a few minutes. But in order to craft the right story and offer to them, you have to understand why they have the biases that they have. Okay? So the second thing is these stories that you tell and these signals that you send out trigger brain chemicals, right? So there are 4 chemicals. There are more than 4. There's actually 5 or 6. I can't remember. There's 4 that are primarily manipulatable in the brain. There's dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin, and cortisol. And those are the 4 chemicals that your brain floats around in this chemical bath inside your skull. And it reacts differently based on what chemical has been released into the brain. If you do a lot of cocaine, I don't know anything about cocaine.
Right.
My brother had a friend, he told me one time that it was pretty cool. I'm sure that probably is. I don't like it. I just like the way that it smells. But
when he's putting it up his nose at a rate of insanity.
But cocaine rushes the brain with dopamine, right? So that's an artificial way to get dopamine. Same is true. Alcohol's a depressant, but it still releases dopamine. It's kind of weird. It releases oxytocin and serotonin at the same time. It's a weird mixture of a poison. The second is serotonin. Dopamine gives you the anticipation something good's about to happen. Serotonin gives you the anticipation of your status being elevated, right? Serotonin is the elevation of status. Like if you won the Academy Award, or if you got a new car, or if you bought a new Rolex or whatever, for a while, that's going to be the shiny object in your life, and it's going to appear to raise your status, right? So that's a brain chemical. The third is oxytocin. That's the love drug. That's feeling loved, feeling belonging, feeling a member of community. We needed that in caveman days to survive. Because if you got ostracized from the tribe, guess what? You died, right? So we built this thing of needing to be liked, that we're stuck in this loop now, when being liked is not required for survival anymore. But we still think that it is. So we're all trying to fit in. But we're not.
Well, some of us.
Yeah, we're not elevating our status, right? That's the reason these guys we were talking about on a podcast earlier that are going counterculture, they're really winning. They're standing out as leaders. And we all still crave leadership because guess what else you needed when you were a caveman? You needed a leader, AKA a moron, to go over on the other side of the hill to see what was there.
Right.
And everybody else didn't want to do it. So, oh man, you're our guy. Go ahead. You needed warriors. And when those warriors conquered and came back, they got all the pleasures of that, right? And then cortisol is a very interesting drug, and we'll talk about that at the end. It's a depressant. It creates a sense of sadness in people. It's very useful in copywriting if you know where to position it and how to use it, because it's where fear-based copywriting kicks in, right? It also brings back feelings of nostalgia. It stimulates the anticipation of something bad happening. So remember, the brain chemicals are really interesting. There's a book by Loretta Bruning called Meet Your Happy Brain Chemicals. I highly recommend it. She's a strange lady, but she wrote a great book. And it's a study of primates. Mm-hmm. And what they learned was they used to think dopamine happened when you had an orgasm, a sexual orgasm. It doesn't. It happens just before you have one. You would get the highest amount of status as you walked on stage to receive the award, not when you received it. Oxytocin, you're the happiest about family coming over right before they get there on Thanksgiving. You are. 20 minutes later, you're like, everybody get the fuck out of my house, right? Because there's coats on the bed and everybody's farting, right? And then cortisol's the same. When you anticipate something bad's going to happen, your body gets flooded with cortisol, and cortisol is paralyzing, right? It's paralyzing. And you'll do anything to get out of that feeling. So those are the 3 brains and the 4 chemicals that really dictate everything we do. And you guys may or may not have ever heard of any of that concept before, but you've been taught copywriting, which is crazy. It's like being taught horseback riding without ever knowing what a horse looks like.
Right.
It's crazy that people don't know this stuff. But I'd say 90% of the copywriters that are calling themselves professional copywriters, holding themselves out as copywriters, writing copy for other people for money, don't know how this shit really works. It's fascinating. So there's been a progression of offer development or copywriting or marketing, whatever you want to call it, over the last 20 years. Marketing's made more progress in the last 20 years than it's made in the last 200 years because there's just been so much more of it. And there's so much immediate access to the public, where in the past you had to be able to buy a $20,000 magazine ad or mail 100,000 letters or get on TV to market to a mass amount of people. And now you can do that with a website and a little bit of money with Facebook or Google or whatever. So initially people thought that describing the product they were selling was marketing. Let me tell you about all the features of my product. I've got this amazing Panasonic Lumix G7 camera. It's got a flip around screen. It's got interchangeable
Product
lenses.
description is operations, not marketing.
More or less. Yeah.
Right.
But people felt that's marketing. And there's a lot of people, man, still selling things on Amazon that think that if they describe the product enough, they're going to sell it. There's an amazing website. I don't know if I ever told you about this or not. You'd find this fascinating. There's an amazing website called Significant Objects. Have you ever heard about that?
No.
It's incredible. I hope the guy never takes it down. I really want to rip it down and just save it in case they ever do. But it was this guy, and I'm probably going to hack the story, but it was done as a psychological experiment. He bought 100 items on eBay for $5 or less. He sent each item to a fiction writer, friend of his in a writer's group. And each one had a fiction story written about the item, totally made up, right? The stories went all the way from this was, that old ashtray that was a Tibetan treasure passed down through generations and stuff. All these crazy stories. They put the products right back on eBay. I think the least products sold for $11 and change, and the most expensive items sold for over $200.
I can't find it.
Same Significant Objects. It's still there. It was at least a week or two ago. The items on average sold for, I think it was 14 times more than their original purchase price by applying a story to the item, right? It's just like a dog. If a dog doesn't have a name, it's not a dog. You don't get attached without a name. There's names are stories, believe it or not. Skippy's a story because the dog skips when it walks. It has a story, right? So, but marketing started by describing a product. And then somebody along the way said, well, what if we tell people about the benefits of the product? Here's a feature. This car has steel-belted radial tires. So what? So you can stop it on a dime, even in wet pavement, and you don't run over a kid at the school stop, right? Or these boots have all leather soles and heels and upper body because leather breathes and stretches. So you're going to be able to grow in these boots and wear them for years, where cheap boots don't. You got to have there's a big rule there. I invented a rule. It's one of 5 things probably I ever invented in the marketing space. It's called the so rule. So when you're writing a bullet point, if you say feature, so benefit, you can't write a bad bullet. If you write, comes in small capsule form, so it's easy to take in the morning and it's completely tasteless, so you won't forget it and you'll take it every day. You just need to have a so. There needs to be a benefit to the feature. That was kind of the second evolution of marketing, was being able to demonstrate benefits. And right now, if you watch most television commercials, that's as far as they go. They go feature, benefit. And that's even TV spending billions of dollars. That's where they go. In the last 10 years or so, maybe 20 years, there have been a handful of copywriters like John Benson, like Clayton Makepeace, like me, like Frank,
Very fascinating website.
Probably it's a great website.
Very fascinating.
It's probably there's a story in there about a plaster horse bus they bought for $2. It sold for $200 and something.
Catch the Wave caught me. absolutely insane.
You'll dive into that and spend hours.
Yeah, I realized that. I had to put it down so I could pay attention.
So they figured out that if copy transformed people's lives, if there was a transformation from the purchase of the thing, even a small one, that you sold a lot more. Because people are trying to transform their lives. Nobody's happy where they are. The grass is always greener. There's a million ways to say this. Everybody's trying to be better. We're all on a trajectory to do better, right? So if we feel like we can have a transformation by the purchase of a thing,
right,
then we're going to do that. So
the grass is always greener on the other side until you stand on it and piss on it.
Yeah, exactly. It's just grass with piss on it. Yeah. So you might say, here's our treadmill, and it has automated buttons and a self-greasing wheel and all that, so that it runs quietly and won't disturb everybody in the house, and it looks nice, and it's sleek design so that you won't be embarrassed having it in your home. But it's going to transform your life by taking you from A to B. So you got to explain the transformation. Here's what happens when you walk 10,000 steps a day. Here's the transformation you can expect. Now you're in the transformational stage. What the most advanced copywriters in the world, the Chris Haddad's of the world, I keep going back to Benson because he's really a great copywriter. And there's a lot more guys. If I'm leaving you out, I'm sorry, because I know
Mario is one of your favorite.
Mario Castelli, one of the best copywriters.
One of your favorite writers, Luke Mills.
Yeah, these guys are really, really smart guys. And there's girls in the copywriting space that are just as smart. They're just usually quieter about it. Yeah.
I haven't met any.
They've learned. I know a few. I don't know.
I haven't met any female copywriters that are astounding at what they do.
And this is a nuanced one, but if that person can come out of the other side of that purchase with a new identity, now you've really done something. You've done something you can charge lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of money for. Think about colleges. What do colleges sell? They sell identities. They sell identities, and identities cost a lot of money. A PhD is an identity. It costs a lot of money. To be a doctor is an identity. It costs a lot of money. To be a lawyer is an identity. It costs lots of money. The things we spend the most money on are transformations to an identity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. So really that's the, that
broken down that way, it makes so much sense, actually. It's a really good way of
it takes a lot to get to that point.
Right. Think about what it takes. Think about what it takes for university, for grad school, thesis or dissertation, then your residency. The investment is huge. So it's a really, really, really great way of putting that.
Digital Marketer was on its last leg when we came up with certification programs, because selling information was dying out even then.
Right.
And when we went to certification models,
I think information has
really
had peaks and valleys for a long time now.
Yeah, it has. Let me see. I've got to look at my little notes here.
Well, because you're getting so old, your eyes have stopped working.
So let's talk for a minute about why people buy, right? I had the privilege of spending a couple of days with probably the smartest person I know. Now I'm glad to say that I know him. It's Rory Sutherland, who wrote the book Alchemy, which I think is one of the best books ever written. Rory Sutherland, Alchemy.
Named your company Alchemy.
Oh my gosh, I love that guy. Yeah. So I did after that book. Yeah. You just picked that up now?
No, of course not. I've always known that, but it wasn't after the book. Just a quick disclaimer for Ryan Poteet's purposes. He read the book and he was inspired already previously, and it pushed him over the edge. Okay.
So why do people buy products anyway? Well, they want a transformation. They want an identity. So they buy products to increase their odds of certainty. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. You can go get a gym membership to get fit, but you'll hire a personal trainer to increase your odds of certainty.
Right.
So when you're seeking certainty, you'll pay a really high price for that.
Yep.
If I want to trade
it's
stocks,
why I joined Driven.
Right. It's why people join masterminds. Right. It's why people are in Ignite. So around people who've already been there, done it. If I was going to trade stock and there was a way for me to afford to be able to go sit next to Warren Buffett all day,
right?
I'd do it.
And it's Dan Fitzpatrick in our world, right?
It's Dan Fitzpatrick.
Or Marcus Highcutter.
I would do that, because it's dumb not to. It's going to increase your odds of certainty.
Yeah.
They also buy things for status. They buy things to increase their status. So that might be a certification. That might be a badge that you could put on your LinkedIn.
It's the shoes, the Louboutins,
they're red bottoms for a reason.
Right.
They're not.
Right.
They're not black bottoms like everybody else.
Tan, but yeah.
That's identification.
Yeah, 100%.
Right?
I own 40 pairs of those things upstairs. It's so stupid.
Yeah, knucklehead. So the other thing is speed, right?
Right.
You may buy a product to accelerate the process, like franchises.
Yep.
Think about why you buy a franchise. You buy it for all these reasons.
Right.
You buy it for certainty. You buy it for speed, for systems.
Another reason people
ease.
buy Mastermind, because you can get
You
somewhere
shortcut.
faster with certainty and shortcuts.
And it's crazy that the average business in America will be
Done
out of
for
business
you.
within 5 years.
Right, 3 to 5.
80% will be out of business within 5 years. 95% of nationally recognized franchises will still be in business 5 years from now.
Yeah.
If you buy a franchise, you're
buying a proven process.
Exactly.
You're buying a proven process. Someone else already spent all the money figuring out how to make it work at scale.
Exactly.
So how could you fail?
Yeah, there are a couple other reasons that are a little more nuanced.
Okay.
One is relatedness.
Relatedness. Is that a word? What does that word mean?
I guess it is. Rory says it's a word, so in my book, it's a fucking word, right?
Okay.
Relatedness is
Is Rory from Kentucky too?
no, that's relative humidity. You know what relative humidity is, don't you?
No.
That's the little bead of sweat that runs down the crack of your ass when you're screwing your sister.
Oh.
That's what they call that in Kentucky. Anyway,
I thought being from Virginia was bad.
relatedness means I'm going to buy from a company who has similar values to me.
Right.
I'm going to buy from a person who has similar values to me. I don't have a lot of Dave Ramsey people, believe it or not,
Shocking.
on my customer list.
Shocking.
Right? That
Shocking.
guy, by the way, has screwed more people into the poorhouse than anybody I
Right.
could possibly imagine.
Anyone who understands wealth understands debt and leverage,
my
not
God.
using credit cards. But that's not
But
the
Ram,
point.
well, let me stop there though, because Ramsey's really smart. He plays the other side of the coin. Because
Right.
what's your brain telling you?
We've
No,
talked
no,
about-
no, no,
we've
no.
talked about this, yeah.
Your brain's telling you no, 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 no. Don't take that risk. Don't risk anything. Risk is bad. And Dave Ramsey says, you know what? You better listen to that voice in your head. Risk is bad. You better save. You better tithe to your church, and you better not.
Right.
You better not take any
Well, if
risk
Jesus
at all.
is coming, just go spend it all. What's the problem? God will provide.
Oh my gosh, there's a great song I got to play you called "Jesus Is Coming." It's really very funny song. Anyway,
I'm excited.
yeah, I'll bet. The other is comparison, which is really interesting. So people do buy relatedness, like The Honest Company, Jessica Alba's company. They were a client of ours at Digital Marketer. My God, man.
Honest Company is a great company.
It was just a mom that wanted cleaner stuff, and they liked her, and that's the reason celebrity endorsements work. If you pick the wrong celebrity to endorse your product,
Right.
it can really hurt your brand.
Right.
Pick the right celebrity, it's great, right? One thing is comparison. Roy told me this thing that was just amazing, that Rolls-Royce, they have the account for Rolls-Royce. Rory Sutherland, by the way, is head of Ogilvy International's creative department. The largest advertising agency think tank in the world, 70,000 employees, and Roy's the top cat. So, but one of the accounts that they keep around almost as a legacy, because David Ogilvy had it, was Rolls-Royce. And comparison is amazing. Contrast, not comparison, contrast is really the word I was looking for. Rolls-Royce used to do all the auto shows. Well, everybody would ogle around the Rolls-Royces because people don't get to see Rolls-Royces that much. I had one for a number of years, and it was awesome. And I had a Ferrari and all these things. I don't ain't shit anymore. But they're beautiful automobiles. They're like a work of art, right? But they stopped doing auto shows. You know why? They didn't sell any cars. Everybody else at the auto show sold cars except Rolls-Royce. They almost never sold a car. Everyone else around them sold lots of cars because of contrast. When you saw a $440,000 Rolls-Royce and you walked next door and saw a really nice Mercedes-Benz for $90,000, you went, man, that's almost as nice as a Rolls-Royce. I want one of those. And the Mercedes guy killed it at the Rolls-Royce guy's expense. Rolls-Royce started doing private yacht shows and private aircraft shows. So now you go out and walk into a $10 million airplane or a $100 million yacht, and you come off and there's a Rolls-Royce there, and you say, how much is that? And they go, it's $400,000. I said, fuck it, I'll take 3. Contrast. Yeah. So where you set yourself in the competitive landscape really matters. I always say in our business, especially if we're running paid traffic head to head against somebody like in Google traffic, if you're not the best offer, you're only providing contrast for the best offer. You're actually doing a favor by running ads against your competitors. If you go out, there's a guy named John Nash, A Beautiful Mind. I don't know if you saw that movie or not. It's a great movie.
Absolutely. I don't watch TV or movies much, but I've absolutely seen Beautiful Mind.
Yeah.
What an amazing story.
So John Nash's story that won him the Pulitzer, not the Pulitzer, won him the Nobel Prize.
Nobel Peace Prize.
Was this theory of contrast that basically if a good-looking girl goes in a bar with two ugly girls, she's more likely to get even more attention. You know, you can be moderately attractive, but going with two people less attractive. Like if I went somewhere with Emma tomorrow, for instance, and we walked into anywhere in the world, I'd be a stud. Nah, but all kidding aside, if you watch your people,
this is why every episode ends with me throwing shoes at you.
So the visual field is the visual field. We're known to pick the least rotten apple, right? If you lay out a table with 3 apples and they're all the same, we have difficulty making a decision. If you lay out 3 apples, 2 are rotten and 1 is fresh, it's really easy to pick the fresh apple, right? So contrast really matters. This one threw a wrench for me, and then I realized I fell victim to it. This was a Rory heavy-duty concept. Fairness. We all have this amazing sense of fairness about us. And it can be logical or illogical. If you pay a lot of attention to Trump in campaigns, they're not being fair to Trump. They're treating me so terribly. This is not fair to me. This is not fair to me. And to me, I was thinking about, man, that kind of shows weakness, that you're whining. But it doesn't, because other people that feel like he's being treated unfairly identify that to their
to him speaking out
unfairness that's been applied to them. But it applies. It's a really heavy concept.
I think there's a lot of him speaking out against. He did a lot of whining.
Yeah,
he did a lot of whining, and for some of us, it made him look weak. But for a lot of us, it made him look like he was standing up against the man.
Identifiable.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. This isn't my fault. This is their fault.
I had people come down to RNC because RNC spent a lot of money with me during the different campaigns, and they told me, I said, I don't get it. And they're like, the thing is that every class of person in America today is a protected class.
Right.
You can't make fun of gays and lesbians. You can't make fun of black people. You can't make fun of Chinese people. You can't make fun of Hispanic. You can't make fun of anybody. You can't make fun of women. You can't make fun of transgender people. The only group of people in America that you can totally make fun of and nobody will come to their defense are angry old white guys. So they felt ostracized. And all you need to do to be a leader of a cult is find an oppressed people. That's all you have to do. Is what Hitler did, right? You find an oppressed people. And if you've got an oppressed people and you will take the mantle to speak for them, you'll be a leader, you know.
At least amongst them.
Yeah, I bought a Rolls Royce when I made my first really big exit, first 8-figure exit. I bought a Rolls Royce. I could have bought a Rolls Royce way before then. But we lived in a neighborhood of moderately priced homes with some upper blue collar, middle white collar management people. I felt like if I bought that Rolls Royce, I would look like a jackass in that neighborhood. So I didn't buy one because it wasn't fair to everyone else around me. I can't believe that I fell to that, but we do. And then lastly, exclusivity. We will buy something just because other people can't. And the brands,
absolutely.
I'm probably gonna say that wrong. The guy that owns Louis Vuitton, Veuve champagne, and all that, he gets that, which is why he's oftentimes the richest man in the world from time to time.
They're limited. The high-end brands, Gucci, Christian Louboutin, Louis Vuitton, they all have these limited supplies. And I'm not a consumer for much.
Right.
But when it comes to shoes and purses,
sucker.
I am. I hate it, but I am. But Gabe keeps track of when they're coming out. And we have 2 favorite stores. One's in Vegas. They're boutiques. One's in Vegas, one's in New York. And we'll plan trips around launches so I can make sure that they're not the limited edition stuff. This is how nuts it is.
And you know it's working against you.
I don't care.
I know.
There's only like one thing I splurge money on.
Yeah.
And it's shoes and bags.
Yeah. But it's just amazing that it's such a powerful concept that people that understand the concept and understand how they're being manipulated still allow themselves to be.
I mean, I certainly haven't. It's been over a year since I bought anything. It really has.
So you're on detox program. You're on
it's kind of like
12-step program right now.
At the point that we needed to, and I know you make fun of me for this all the time.
Room.
Right. So the point that I needed a room in my house for shoes and bags, I needed like a whole dedicated room. It was probably, and I can't wear any of them. I wear them to bed and I wear them on podcasts. So probably need to stop.
Well, it's amazing. I read stories during COVID that the handbag brands and some of the shoe brands, they literally burnt inventory.
Yes, that's absolutely
they
true.
They incinerated inventory.
Rather than sell it at a discount because it will degrade the ability to sell at such ridiculous, like the people that I know, I'm not going to go too nuts into this, but the people that I know, I'll spend money, but I'm not spending stupid car money. I know people that own purses that are over $10,000.
I know people that own purses over $50,000.
I was going to say, I know people that own the most expensive bag I've ever seen someone that I personally know have was a $72,000 bag.
The Birkin.
And yep. And I literally wanted to take it out of her hand and smash it over her head and just be like, what is the matter? Why are you so broken?
Why do you just do that when you could easily carry a $5,000 purse that would be just... How whacked is that logic? You could have bought 12 $5,000 purses for that, like me.
No, okay, all right. I'm going to shut all the way the up now. I have climbed mountain and jumped off. You got this one all to yourself for the rest of the episode.
So, all right. So that's kind of some of the reasons why people will buy that are primal. So why won't people buy? Right.
This part is probably the most important.
Yeah. Why won't people buy? And there are really only 3 big reasons why people don't buy things. And none of them have to do with money and affordability. They do, I guess, at the core level. You know, you're not going to sell a Rolls Royce to a welfare mom, chances are, right?
Chances are. I'm pretty sure we have a solid guarantee that that's not going to happen.
Yeah. So why don't people buy? Well, number one, they don't want what you're selling. So, and you're like, well, they clicked on my ad. Well, a lot of times we'll run ads that are fuzzy.
Right.
That don't disqualify buyers.
Right.
So an ad should attract the right buyer, but also should repel the other buyer. If you see these ads, some of the best ads I've seen lately on Facebook are like, if you make over $250,000 a year and you have a beer belly.
Yeah. Dimitri did this.
Or if you want to do this, and I've got it. If you're
Dimitri did this whole thing. Disqualify them more than you're trying to qualify.
If you're wearing a Rolex right now and you can't get a date.
Right.
You know, if you're yada, 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 and you can't do this or
They're making sure that their people know. There's this one chick, I don't know why she keeps coming up in my feed because I clearly have no interest in exercise, but she keeps coming up in my feed and she's like, if you're a high-earning woman who is trying to buy, probably because I click on Louis Vuitton and everything, that is trying to buy Gucci and Chanel, and it doesn't look right on you, and you need to get in the best shape of your life.
Yeah.
And it's like,
makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, she comes up in my feed a lot. But so once you get from the ad to the sales page, it says, people ask me all the time why I charge such expensive prices and why I'm going after the high demographic client, because they were dedicated enough to make money, so they're going to be dedicated enough to get their perfect body. Right. And it disqualifies anybody.
And now when she wants $5,000 from you or something, that's one bag.
It's not $5,000. I was curious at one point. It's not $5,000. It's $15,000 up front. They set your goal weight. If you hit your goal weight, you pay another $10,000. If you don't hit your goal weight, but you did everything, you have to get on like all the workouts and you did everything, they'll give you all your money back.
Interesting.
No one's getting on 5 workouts a week for 3 months. Nobody.
Yeah.
You're going to miss one. Smart.
So they don't want what you're selling. So they a lot of times I'll come up with some of my best offers. I've sent you stuff like I'll think somebody's selling a thing and I'll go, wow, that's a great offer. Yeah. And I'll get to it and it's not really that offer. I'll just go make that offer that I thought it was.
Right.
Because that was the offer I knew people would want more. 2, they don't believe you. You're making them a promise and you're not backing that promise up with facts, truth, reputation. You know, I lost a lot of weight the last year or so. A lot, last 2 years.
Well, you cheated.
I did cheat. I don't care. Yeah, I cheated. But the truth is, people see overweight people sometimes as less disciplined.
I mean,
or with lesser level of respect. Some people do, not everyone.
I think that the vast majority, if we're being truly honest, the vast majority of the population looks at overweight people as lesser form of human.
Yeah.
In every
There's
way.
Definitely bias.
Socioeconomically,
right. Yeah.
They must be lazy. They must not be disciplined.
They statistically make less money. Even in the workplace, they make less money statistically. And I don't want to be that, right? And I don't, it's not necessarily true. I'm no smarter or dumber today than I was 2-3 years ago.
That's not true.
I don't know.
That's not true.
But it has nothing to do with
It
has nothing to do with my weight or fitness. So
that is
it's
true.
just perception.
That is true. But you've intentionally, and this is the thing, you've intentionally and meticulously year over year kept yourself relevant by educating yourself, by spending more time learning. You spend more time learning than you spend trying to make money, which ultimately makes you so much more money, right?
I want to teach futuristic things.
But
if I appear to be old, I'm immediately discounted.
Right.
So I've got to work against a bias.
Right.
Right. And as soon as we see someone's face, we make 1,400 mental judgments about them. Before, totally subconsciously.
Absolutely.
They don't smile. They're old. They're young. They're Asian. They're black. They're white. They're poor. They have
good at math.
Country voice. Whatever the case may be.
Right.
Your voice tonality, your micro expressions, everything is taken into account, so they don't believe you. So to overcome that, you have to have lots and lots and lots of belief. And that goes back to, if you haven't watched the 7-11-4 episode of the podcast, you should watch it, because getting people to be familiar with you is incredibly important. That's reason number 2. Those are overcomable, right? Make the offer the one they're looking for.
Right.
I have a saying that's one of my favorite sayings in the world. It's the only one I think was originally to me.
Beats this shit to death.
I beat it to death. Are you selling what you want to sell, or are you selling what they want to buy? And if you're doing the latter, you're going to do just fine. And if you're doing the first, good luck. You're going to get the shit beat out of you for a good long while until you finally quit and give up. Because you've got to sell what other people want to buy. When I get these dummies. God, there's nothing I want to do more than rip the face off a 20-year-old that comes in for a consultation with me, pays me $25,000. It's just, our business is pretty good. We're doing like $250 a month, but we're just trying to figure out a way we can remove ourselves from the business more. And, I want to hire a CFO. I want to hire a CEO so we can kind of remove ourselves from the business and, have more of a lifestyle brand. You know what I mean, man? Yeah, I know that you're going to be broke in a calendar year.
Thank you for the your
Thanks
check.
For the 20.
Hold on, did your check clear?
Yeah.
Did your check clear?
You're
That's my question.
Moron, right? It's crazy how they do that. So let me see if I can deliver less value for more money. How's that going to work out for you? Very, very poorly. So deliver what they want to buy. And people want, I'm going to tell you, dude, nobody wants to learn to fish anymore. Teach a man to fish, you fish him you give him a fish, you feed him for a day, you teach him to fish, you feed him for life. That's bullshit. Everybody wants they want a fish sandwich with fries and a Coke delivered by Grubhub. They want it instantaneously. That's what people want today. And if you give them the closest you give them to that, the better you're going to be. Second, all you got to have to overcome that they don't believe you is a shitload of proof. And everybody tries to prove themselves. Here's where you get screwed up. If you're selling all the way to the close, you should never be selling yourself or your product. You should be selling the idea of yourself and the product. Now, all you got to do, this becomes really easy. Go find other people that they trust more than you that agree with your idea. That's it. There's a guy in our business, Mike Dillard, who did an offer some time back. He was getting in the financial space, and Mike wasn't very known in the financial space at the time. And he got on and talked about all these highbrow financial concepts, and I'm like, Mike Dillard's doing all this? Mike Dillard was an MLM dude. Mike's a very smart guy and a good friend of mine. So I'm like, wow, that's crazy. Mike's made that transition. And I'm like, okay, I'll opt in for his webinar that's coming up in a week. And he says, you go to the webinar sign up page, you go to the other page, and there's a video there of a 60 minutes interview with Warren Buffett.
Right.
And Warren Buffett's saying all the things Mike just said. And your mind says, holy cow, Warren Buffett agrees with Mike. That's what your brain says. But the truth is, Mike just ripped off Warren Buffett. did the video just before him, right?
Right.
He just took those concepts and delivered them as his own and then had Warren Buffett back him up. How freaking brilliant is that, right? And you just got to find people who agree with your idea. If you're selling a product, it's hard to find people. Warren Buffett would never endorse Mike Diller's product. But if they agree on the same ideals, and I'm never going to have access to Warren Buffett, guess what? The next best thing is access to Mike. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So lastly, this is the one that's tough. The main reason people don't buy from you is because they've already failed with something similar. That's a tough.
Can you say that again?
The number one reason why people don't buy something from you is because they have already failed with something similar.
It doesn't even have to be that similar either. It has to just be the same delivery.
Yeah, I already know about echinacea. I already know about, this is another ChatGPT course. I already know about ChatGPT. This is another exercise machine. This is another Thigh Master. I already had a Thigh Master back in the 80s. That thing didn't work because I put it in the box, I shoved it under the bed, and my thighs were still fat. It didn't work. All these things that they've tried before. So you either have to truly have a revolutionary concept of what you're selling, which is the best way to do it. And if you have something new, weirdly enough, it's going to sell even if it sucks. It will.
Oh, absolutely. For a time.
You might get it back.
For a time. We saw that with AI challenges, throughout the industry. There are so many people become an AI agency, revolutionize your business with AI. Come do an AI challenge. There's 12 different AI challenges.
That shit, man.
And they all dove headfirst off of a cliff because their MRR changed massively, but their OPEX did not.
Well, you look at the paleo diet, right? Well, you had the Atkins diet, then it became the paleo diet, and now it's the carnivore diet.
Is it carnivore now?
It's practically the same thing,
keto,
right?
carnivore, paleo.
But they put a different spin on it. I'll do a course, like I did a course, we were talking earlier, I did a workshop not long ago called Lead Laundering, and it was about lead arbitrage. It was really a list building course. And it was a great list building course. It had a bunch of new concepts in it. But if I'd called it a list building course, I would have sold none.
Right.
So if you don't have something new, you have to put a new spin on what you do have. And when they get in it, it needs to have different concepts, different processes, a different mechanism of working, right? And you'll find, we'll talk about naming in a totally different episode, but when you name things, I always tell people you need a brand name for your company, a brand name for your product, and a brand name for the mechanism that makes your product work. If you look at Beachbody, well, God, what a great freaking name.
Yeah.
The desired end result of every client.
That trend rode for a long time.
Still running today.
I mean, it is, but not where it was.
But they bring out new products. So then they'll bring out a product like P90X or Plyo or whatever. That'll be their new product. And then inside each one of those products is a mechanic. If you remember with a P90X, the mechanic was muscle confusion. With Plyo, it was micro muscle development. So they'll have, it's the secret to Plyo.
I bought P90X. I never did it.
Well, of course, but you bought it.
I did. I bought Insanity.
That scratched your itch.
I bought Insanity. I bought shit.
Yeah,
I think I watched a couple episodes.
While you ate some Cheetos and ice cream on the couch.
I can't eat those things, but yeah, I started buying that shit with Billy Banks. What was that called? Tybo. I had all the Tybo VSLs, every single VSLs, not VHS tapes. I had all the that's how far back it goes, the VHS tapes. And then I got P90X, I got Insanity, and now it's like $29 for the front end, $49 a month in the back, and I probably got 40 of those.
They're selling MLM now.
Sometimes I'll lay on the couch and watch them.
They were in Beachbody was in War Room, and we ran them all the way from $140 million over $1 billion.
Yeah.
They didn't have any. They
were part of War Room when that they did it, but of course.
But it was amazing to watch that rise to do $1 billion.
Yeah,
$1 billion. Yeah. So those are why people don't buy things. So if you don't address those things to overcome them in your offers, this prefrontal cortex brain is just going to say no. Girls talk about with guys, or guys talk about with girls, red flags. Right? You want to date was a red flag. For most of you ladies out there, he just got out of prison 5 minutes ago and he doesn't have a place to live is a red flag. For Emma,
It's an opportunity.
that's a turn on. I got a big house, right? I got a big house. I make plenty of money. You know.
Do you like pit bulls?
Do you have your clothes with you? You know. I know this is getting lengthy, right? But
It's boring me to death. But it's important, and it's important stuff that people need to know.
I'll get through one more concept, and then we'll probably wrap episode 1 of this. And if you got any feedback or questions, which you never do, because she's so high right now, she's not listening anyway.
I mean, you gave me 4 10-milligram gummies.
Now let's talk about how to get them over to your side. There is a 7-Eleven 4 and getting them to spend time with you, and that's important. But if you want to accelerate that process, and you do when you're selling online, you need to get them to follow you like someone would follow a person into a cult, right? And I hate to bring up Trump again. We're going to bring up Trump again in a minute. Donald Trump created a movement, the MAGA movement, right? And it was based on 5 rules that all cults are based on. And if you want to create a cult following in your business, you're going to need to adopt these and learn these rules. So these are writer-downers. If you're taking notes, you want to write these down. People will follow you anywhere. They'll follow your advice. They'll become your subordinates. They'll do what you tell them to or ask them to do, up until a point you really let them down. There will be a point where you can really get let down to where they'll abandon you, but it takes a lot if you'll do these 5 things. Number 1, you support their dreams. You know, you tell them that their dreams are possible. You help them with the dream, and you let them know that you're on the same mission they're on with the dream. 2, you allay their fears. Blair Warren out of San Antonio, Texas, wrote these in a passage in a book, and I've never forgot him. He's a brilliant guy. Number 1, you support their dreams. Number 2, you allay their fears. So you tell them it's all going to be okay. Advertising is a sign on the side of the road that says it's going to be okay. Do what you want. That's what advertising is all about. It's going to be okay. Just do what you want. Do what that little brain back here is telling you to do. It's going to be okay. Right? 3, justify their previous failures. If you read almost any sales letter I've ever written in my life, there's a line in there. What is it? It's not your fault. Almost every single sales letter. You know, you've been given bad information. You didn't know. You've been kept in the dark. It's not your fault. You got to let people off the hook. You just can't go, hey, dummy, why haven't you been doing this obvious thing you should be doing?
That falls into every category.
Yeah, it really does.
Weight loss, it's not your fault. It's your hormones.
It's only everywhere.
Right.
And then you have to confirm their suspicions. So number 1, support their dreams, allay their fears, justify their previous failures, confirm their suspicions, right? That, yes, the food industry is screwing you. The drug industry is screwing you. The secrets they don't want you to know, they got Trudeau in jail, right? It was such a powerful message, though. Think about how many millions of books this guy sold on TV of health secrets they don't want you to know. Who are they? It doesn't matter. They're the invisible boogeyman, right? Which makes them even scarier because they're under the bed. They're behind the curtain. They're in the closet. You don't know who they are, right? And lastly, cast stones at their enemies. They're the enemy of my enemy is my friend, right? So if you look at, again, the Trump campaign and the MAGA movement, right? Support their dreams. Well, what do people dream about most of the time, especially if you're older and you vote? Nostalgia, the good old days, right? That's what you dream about. Well, nostalgia is a super powerful elixir, right? People want it the way that it used to be back in the good old days. When the good old days wasn't really all that good, we just remember the good parts and we try to forget the bad parts.
That's everything.
Right? But what's a great message for that? I don't know. Something like, oh yeah, make America great again. Make America great would not have worked.
Right. Make
America great again triggered nostalgia.
Right.
Yeah, I remember when a man was a man and, you know, sheep were nervous. You know, that was, this is a Wyoming state tagline. If you're from Wyoming,
don't put anything in the comments. We don't care.
We don't give a shit.
We don't care. You don't get. We don't. Our customer base is very low in Wyoming.
Bunch of sheep fuckers. 2, but only the really good looking sheep. You know. 2, allay their fears. What were people most afraid of in the last couple election cycles? Immigration. We're going to build a great big wall. We'll keep those murderers and rapists out, right? Justify their previous failures. Not your fault. Failed liberal policies and, you know, woke culture have really screwed you over. 4, confirm their suspicions. Drain the swamp. Everybody's crooked. Republicans are crooked. Democrats are crooked. Independent. Everybody's crooked. It's a swamp up here. We got to drain it. And 5, cast stones at their enemies. And the beautiful part of Trump's campaigns were everybody was the enemy. Everybody. The media was the enemy. The government was the enemy. The Department of Justice, the FBI, other politicians, other people, women, Rosie O'Donnell. Everybody was his enemy, right? So it really was a smart way to play it. But this concept is such a giant concept. Do you guys understand what you're hearing right now? And half of y'all have tuned out and you're like, I don't know what this shit is. This is the stuff that's the difference between a multi-$1,000 offer and a multi-million-dollar offer. This is the real juice. This is what people are talking about when they're sitting in rooms with multi-million-dollar copywriters crafting offers. It's not which of the 21 steps do I want to follow.
Right.
Formulaic copy works, sorta. It works better than non-formulaic copy. But with these tools, you go out and slay any ordinary copywriter. You just absolutely murder them. I'm going to say one more thing. There's a really brilliant guy named Alan Sultanic, who I'm a big fan of. And he and I have had all kinds of interactions before, some good, some bad, some indifferent.
I'm seething.
No, I've given...
You're such a f***ing ass kisser.
Yeah.
The guy, okay.
The guy's smart as fuck. You can't give him...
The guy literally fucking suck his little bullshit ass cronies on you. He was born in like fucking 96, claims he fucking created the tripwire that you did.
No,
fucking
that's not what he said. It's not what he said.
Fuck that little guy anyway.
He's a very smart guy. Don't take that away. That's not true. He's a very smart guy. But we were talking
You also
about,
hate this guy.
I don't hate him. I'm jealous a little
You
bit.
literally said to me, I hate this little...
I did hate the little when we were in...
And you didn't say or you used another F word.
When we were in the middle of this pissing contest, yeah.
All over Facebook.
Yeah. But it's okay. You're a
bigger man. There you go. There it is.
Man.
There it is. That's what he was doing.
Man.
All right, go ahead.
I promise I'll only use the part that you can't get to. Okay. So, but he talks about a concept of why and how. And that people need to understand the why before they'll buy the how. I've extended that to why, how, what, who, right? And I really believe it's the way people buy. They want to know why they have the problem. They want to know how to fix it. They want to know what they need to fix it. And then they want to know who to get that from. Why, how, what, who. And if you get that out of order, you can sell the how-to without the why. But the person has to already be aware of the problem. They already have to be aware of why they have the problem in order to sell the how. If they don't know why they have the problem, it's very hard to sell the how. Let's say a woman, every time she's getting close to getting married, the guy ducks out and ghosts her. Well, you can't sell her a how to get a good man to marry class, tomorrow, because she doesn't understand why she keeps losing these guys. And the same may be true with a woman, or the guy that goes and every time he gets close to winning a golf game, he blows it at the end. He doesn't understand why he blows the golf game. He doesn't understand why he can't hit the ball if it's been raining outside or whatever. There's so much room in offers for whys, right? If you go why, how, what, who, why, how, what, who, you will never hurt in sequencing. So sequencing is really important. And you can't talk about the what. A lot of people will they'll teach somebody the why and they'll go right to a product, right to the what. You can't. You need to explain that if you have gout, let's say, if your big toe hurts, well, guess why your big toe hurts?
Because you're old.
Because you have gout. And you explain how they can determine they have gout. Wow, now I have gout. How do I get rid of gout? Well, you've got to have cherry juice. You got to change your diet. You can't eat these certain foods, yada, yada, yada. You need to take these certain supplements. Well, how do I get them? What's the best product to take? Well, there's this one product that has all these supplements in it that you need for gout. You take one pill a day and you won't have gout anymore, maybe, right? And then now, great, that's great. Who do I get it from? Who do I trust to get it from? So, and this can be applied to practically anything you purchase. Why have I got, I had a big house in Las Vegas, 8,000 foot house, and we had pigeon shit all over the house, pigeon shit all over this big house. And we found out that you have to get these you know, why the pigeons shitting all over my house and they're not pigeons shitting all over my neighbor's house? Well, we had perches on our house where they could sit. So what do you need to do about that? How do you get rid of them? Well, you get these spiky things that go in the gutters, right? Well, what are those? Well, there's a name for them, and you find them. Okay, which brand do I want to buy? Whose do I want to buy? Which one's the most effective? So no matter what the process is of what you're buying, it's always going to go why, how, what, who. You know, I want to learn to be a copywriter. You know, here's why your offers suck. Because you don't know how to write copy to the reptilian brain, right? Well, how am I going to learn how to do that? Well, you got to find somebody who knows how to do it, right? What do I need to do that? Well, you need to hit all these different things that we're talking about now. Well, who should I get to teach me? Well, Perry's the guy that's teaching you right now, so you probably should buy shit from him. It always works that way. When you guys got on here today on a podcast and you had shitty offers that weren't working, you didn't know why. Now you have a pretty good idea why. I'm the most likely candidate because you discovered that for me. I'm the most likely candidate if I were selling a copywriting course right now for you to buy a copywriting course from, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. And you go to perryscopywritingcourse.com. I'm just kidding. You'd be the most likely to buy it from me. So there's a document that goes along with all this, and there's a GPT that helps you to frame out Primal offers.
We'll have show notes in this one, but the GPT will be in the second one.
Yeah.
But if you go to www, as always,
don't go to www as always.
www.trainwreckshow.com and just like us on whatever platform you like to watch podcasts, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Audible. If you prefer to look at Perry's face for some ungodly reason because you like to punish yourself.
Or my OnlyFans.
YouTube. YouTube is a great place to subscribe to us. Don't miss an episode.
I only do my feet on OnlyFans though, because
this way you don't miss an episode. We're gonna have / Primal offers. So
let's just do / Primal. Let's keep it simple.
Okay.
/ Primal.
Okay.
We'll have both probably.
Which one, Perry?
Let's do / Primal.
Okay. So if you go to our website, which is trainwreckshow.com / Primal, we'll have. Once episode 2 drops, we'll have all the show notes in a Google Doc plus the GPT to help you work your way through your own offer and how it relates.
That's called an open loop, by the way. We might even talk about that next time.
During Primal offers, because next time is Primal offers.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Thank you all so much for being here today. We really appreciate you being here. Emma, you were here too. And that's great. All right. Anything?
I can always leave.
Anything, I'm firing you next week.
I mean,
you know that.
Wait, hold on. Let me see. Next week.
Thank you all so much. I hope this was helpful to you. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, feelings, emotions, wherever you're watching this, listen to it. Go back and ask those questions. We'd love to see you on YouTube. You get to see Em and I do these live, completely in the nude, here in her hot tub at her house. If you're on YouTube. If you're listening via audio, all you can hear is the splish splash. I was taking a bath. So
actually, the noise canceling keeps them from hearing the water. Yeah.
Yeah, the jets.